Good morning, everybody. It's Giovanni, also known as Gypsy. I want to give a shout out to Josh. He's on my paranormal investigation team. Anyways, I told him I was going to start making paranormal videos, so this is just another one of my paranormal stories. I've been dealing with the paranormal, poltergeist, phenomena type of things since I was 4 years old. This is a story. I got a bunch of stories related to this house I lived in. This is a time when I had a lot of really crazy things happening to me. Like one time I was almost killed by this ghost in this house. I was waking up and like I was having things happen to me at night to where I'd wake up in the morning and I'd have black eyes and scratches. I was having a lot of sleep paralysis to where it felt like somebody was strangling me, and then I wouldn't be able to wake up. But all these things were happening in this house I lived in when I was like 11. We moved to this house. We moved out of the city to upstate to the country. Like I grew up in the city, but I've lived back and forth in like the country and the city, the country and the city. So I've lived out in the middle of nowhere, and I've lived in big cities. So we had moved out of a city into this old house out in the middle of nowhere on probably like 10 acres. There was a few houses around us, but not a lot. It was definitely like country living. It wasn't a very nice house. My life at the time, like I had a real crazy life at the time. I grew up around, like my mom was a drug addict, and there was just all kinds of crazy stuff in and around me and all the houses I lived in growing up, because my mom was a drug addict and she attracted a lot of, I believe, demonic, negative type of ghosts and demons and stuff around us wherever we went. But this house we moved into, long story short, somebody had committed suicide at this house I think like 4 years before we moved in there. And how I knew this, the reason why I'm telling you this now and not at the end of the story is because I have so many stories related to this house, and this will explain why bad stuff was happening. So this guy who lived there before us stuck a shotgun in his mouth and blew his head off. And I found this out like 8 years after we moved out of that house. I looked up the person who used to live there and went and talked to him. And he was a man probably in his 40s. He lived there with his family, his wife and his children, and then he lived there with his mom. And his mom's boyfriend was the one that committed suicide. And I went and tracked this guy down to ask him, hey, did you ever have any crazy stuff happen at this house? And he looked at me kind of weird. And I started to tell him things that happened to me inside that house. He was like, yeah, I've had all that stuff happen to me. He's like, my mom didn't want us to tell you guys when you moved into the house, but her boyfriend had committed suicide. He went up on the lawn. It was like 2 levels, a low level and an upper level yards. He went up on the upper yard, he stuck a shotgun in his mouth, he blew his head off. So his unsettled, like when people commit suicide, and I know this from dealing with ghosts, because I've been in and around other places where suicides have happened. I believe when someone kills themselves, whatever state of mind they were in when they killed themselves, which would be pretty crazy, because you would have to be, think about it. You put a bullet or a shotgun shell through your head. Think of the anger and how loud and crazy and just chaotic that would be. That's what the ghost is going to be like, and it's not going to transition anywhere. It's going to stay right there, whether or not it knows it's dead, whether or not that spirit knows it's a spirit, a ghost, and it's not a human anymore. I don't know, but I've learned that dealing with ghosts, whatever the person was like in real life, that's what the ghost is going to be like. So I believe there's a lot of bad ghosts around, because bad people who do bad things like child molesters, rapists, murderers, killers, just really bad people, I believe that when they die, a lot of times their soul doesn't transition anywhere. Like the afterlife, whether you want to call it heaven or hell, it doesn't want them. So it stays here, and whatever kind of person the ghost was in real life, that's what kind of person the ghost is in the ghost world. So it harasses people. Some people are susceptible to it. I'm susceptible to it. I have paranormal and poltergeist stuff happen to me all the time. So we were living in this house. I got a bunch of stories. But we had just first moved in there, and before we even like walked into the house, I could feel that it was haunted. I have a sixth sense. I'm a little bit psychic, empathic, and clairvoyant. I come from a long line of gypsy occultists and tarot readers and fortune tellers and mediums and stuff. So I have psychic DNA in me. I don't really work on it though. I don't really. The thing I use most is my intuition. I always trust my gut instinct. But as far as like honing in my psychic abilities, I don't really do it. I know when I go somewhere and I pick up on something, I know I'm right. So I go to this house, and right away I picked up on a really bad vibe, really bad energy. And I said to myself, I was 11 years old, been dealing with ghosts since I was 4. I was like, this house is haunted. Oh shit, this sucks. Because I knew if this house is haunted and the bad vibe, the bad energy that I'm getting, it's a bad ghost, I'm susceptible to it, I'm open to it, it's gonna mess with me, it's gonna harass me, this is gonna suck. So like the first week we moved in there, stuff started happening. Like you would hear stuff moving. Like I would be home a lot. Like I said, my mom was always on the go, she was always on the run. Sometimes I'd be at home for weeks at a time. And ghost stuff usually only happens to me at night. I believe nighttime is when ghosts have the most power. All day they can charge up from the sun and people's energy from being up and moving around. Nighttime everything stops. And it's like, I believe everything in the paranormal world is charged. And it's amped up. And it's ready to go. It's rocking and rolling. So everything was okay at this house until nighttime happened. As soon as nighttime happened, you could just feel the energy of the house change. The house would get real cold. You would hear noises that you knew, like, you just know sometimes that, like, that's not like an old floor creaking or the house settling. That's somebody walking around. That's somebody moving something. That's somebody slamming the door, but nobody's there. So it's a ghost. And that's what was happening. And a lot of times I would end up going outside and literally like staying outside all night until morning time, until somebody either came home or the sun came up. Then I'd go back in the house. But this one night, it was a big old house too, like a 2-story house. One night I was sitting on the couch watching TV. It was like midnight. Scared to death because stuff was happening, and as soon as nighttime would happen, I would start hearing things. And sitting there watching TV, and it's pitch black. All you can see is the TV. And out of the corner of my eyes, I see like a big black silhouette. And I'm like, what the heck? And I look, and the TV, the light was kind of like silhouetting around it. It was like a solid black figure, big solid black figure. It looked like a man standing there in like overalls. You couldn't see his facial features. It was just a solid black feature. You could make out like, the head, the arm, the legs. And it was just standing there staring at me. And it looked like it was like 7 feet tall. I'm sitting on the couch looking at this thing, because all of a sudden I realize, holy shit, I'm looking at a big, huge shadow entity thing. It's standing right here in front of me. It's so black that you can't see through it, and that the light from the TV is silhouetting off of it, so it's like accentuating the black figure. It's just standing there with its arms out, like bowed up, like looking at me like, "Urgh." And I was like, terrified isn't even the word to describe how I felt. I was so scared I couldn't even move. And I'm sitting there looking at this, then all of a sudden, the black shadow figure turns, like not completely turns around, but it turns around like at a 45-degree angle, and it walks off. And I'm watching this thing walk off, and I'm like, and it's just a solid black figure. You can't see through it. It's walking, and it just walks right through a wall and disappears. And I'm like, and I was so scared, like I couldn't even get up off the couch. I knew what I saw. I've seen things like this before. This wasn't new to me. What scared me was I knew it was a ghost, and I knew it didn't like me. And I was nervous because I was thinking, like, this thing manifested itself into a big black solid shadow figure. I was like, man, this thing's gaining power. It's gaining momentum. It doesn't like me. I can feel its energy. It's hateful. It's pissed off. And this is before I knew that somebody had committed suicide there. I found out after I moved out of there. And that was this guy's ghost. So I ended up getting up, and I was going to go outside and wait outside all night, but I just felt like I felt more danger outside. So really, I had a really bad feeling. I was like, you know, I'm going to go up in my room, I'm going to turn a light on, and I'm just going to stay in there and just try to chill out. I know that ghost is in here. I just saw it and walked through a wall, go into my room. So I go to my room, and I'm in my room, like, doing stuff, and I had a little room. It was converted from a laundry room into a bedroom. And my bed was on the wall. And I'm in my room, and I'm putting up a model on the wall. Like, I'm putting a model up on the wall. So my back was turned away from my bed. My bed was right behind me. And I was setting this model I built. It was like a car or something up on this shelf in my room. And I'm looking at the model, and all of a sudden, out of the corner of my peripheral vision, I heard it before it hit the wall. A penny flew past my head. I saw it right out of my peripheral and slammed into the wall. Bam! It hit the ground. It fell, and I'm like standing there going like, holy shit. A penny just flew across the room so fast. You ever heard people when they flick pennies with their finger and it goes zzz? That's what I heard. I hear zzz. Out of the corner of my eye, a penny goes wham, hits the wall right by my head where I was putting the model up, lands on the ground. I saw it all out of my peripheral vision, and I literally was like standing there in shock, scared to death to turn around because I could feel somebody standing behind me. And this is right after I just saw this shadow figure. So I'm standing there, my face is about, 12 inches from the wall, and I'm just standing there looking at the wall, looking at this model going like, either there's a human being standing behind me who just threw a penny at me so hard and so fast that it made a zinging sound, like it broke the sound barrier. I saw it hit the wall right by my face. Let me make sure I was, I said to myself, let me make sure that was a penny, and I'm really seeing this. I look down on the ground. There's the penny that just hit the wall. And I'm standing there, and I'm like, there's nobody in the house. There's no one in my bedroom. But I could just feel, and I'm scared to death. I was scared to turn around. And I could feel nothing but pure hate and anger. And I could feel that whatever this was standing behind me, and it wasn't a human being, wanted to hurt me, wanted to kill me if it could. That's the vibe, that's the energy, that's what I felt. And I have felt that before. I have faced death before. And this ghost that was in my house and just threw this penny at me, I could feel that this thing wanted to hurt me. And it was gaining power. It was starting to be able to pick stuff up and throw it at me. It was starting to be able to manifest its body and show itself to me. So I still didn't turn around yet. So finally I was like, all right, screw it. And I turn around, and there's nothing there except you couldn't see it, but you could feel the presence of an entity, a ghost, a demon, whatever you want to call it, the unsettled spirit of this dead person who just threw a penny at me, standing right in front of my bed. Yeah, I could feel it looking at me. I could feel the energy coming off of it. And this thing wanted to hurt me. So I turned around, and I could just feel it, sense it, and I knew that I was in trouble, and it was time to get out of there. And I ran towards my door. My door open, you had to pull it in. I tried to push it open. I almost broke the door trying to get out of there. So I open the door, I get out of there, I run outside, and I remember I sat down on the edge of the driveway all night waiting for somebody to come home, and you could see the light in my room from the end of the driveway. And I'm sitting there thinking about just seeing this big, huge shadow entity walk, stare me down, then walk through a wall. Then, 20 minutes after that, in my room, it throws a penny at me so hard that it dented the wall. I saw the penny hit the wall, but it threw the penny so hard with so much power that the penny made that zzz, the zigging sound through the air. And I'm looking up at my bedroom, and in about 2 hours after being down at the end of the driveway, I see I'm thinking, am I crazy? Did I see this? And I've had this happen before. Not exactly this, but paranormal stuff. So it wasn't new to me. But you always question yourself. Was that real? Was I seeing things? So I'm down at the end of the driveway. I wouldn't say I felt safe. I felt safer because I knew that the house is where this ghost, this evil entity, this unsettled spirit of this dead guy who killed himself, I knew that was his domain. That's where his power and his energy was. So I knew I was all right at the end of the driveway. I was still scared because it was dark and I was 11, and I just had a ghost, do some crazy stuff to me. But after 2 hours being down at the end of the driveway, I'm looking up in my bedroom. I see the light on. I'm like, you're trying to talk yourself out of it. Did I see something? Am I hearing things? Am I going crazy? Then what confirmed it to me as I was looking at it, as I was looking at my bedroom, and I see the light on, all of a sudden I see the light go off. And it had to shut the light off. And I'm like, oh my God, dude. All night down at the end of the driveway, I would see lights come off and on in that house. And I was just like, oh man. So anyway, someone finally came home. And as I said, in the daytime, it was almost like the evil energy of this house would lift itself and disappear. And you wouldn't even really think about it anymore. You wouldn't think about the ghost. You wouldn't think about the evil energy. You wouldn't think about all the bad stuff that was going on. As soon as night hit, it was like everything was shapeshift and manifest and turn into this evil, weird world. So anyways, I got a bunch more stories about that house. And that was just one story. I got probably 10 other stories. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoy that. You guys have a good day. Hope everybody's doing good out there. Peace.